Hello again and welcome to another episode of At the Chalk Face. I'm at AB Gluma Primary School in Soweto. We're going to see a classroom activity in Mrs. Mpakatsane's grade 4 class, and we want to observe how different ways of learning can take place in young children. Mrs. Mpakatsane has planned an activity which demonstrates some of the ways in which we use and take in information and acquire skills. She says they begin the day by taking a few minutes for what she calls mental drill. Let's see what she means. I'm a little confused. This looks like rote learning to me. I thought that RNCS and OBE were supposed to get rid of rote learning. Let me ask Mrs. Mpakatsane.
In the past, the learners used to use a lot of rote learning, but now because it's OBE linked with RNCS, we have to use multiple of approaches. And rote learning as such, in the past, it was the learner used to memorize, but not understanding what they were supposed to learn. But now it helps us because it links the learning and the memorization. They have to recite, and in that way it makes learning much easier and effective.
I know exactly what you mean. When I was at school, we used to memorize all sorts of definitions, and I didn't understand then, and I still don't understand today what they meant.
At that time, when you forget one word, a key word, you were lost altogether. But now they need to understand, and by understanding, they must research, even explore the work that they are doing in that way, and they are doing it themselves. Learners, what we are going to do today, we do have the materials on your desk. We are going to use those materials and predicting as to which object can sink and float. What you must do now, you are going to design and make your boats. Thereafter, we'll be evaluating each and every group's boat, that this boat can float, this one can sink.
Did the learners know about sinking and floating before?
It was something that they've learned from the previous lesson about the object that were able to sink and to float, because they have to test it before. Now, what about the right, record all the objects that floated and all those that sink.
How important is it for learners to talk and write about what they're doing?
It is important because it clarifies what they need to be doing. And in so doing, they learn to explore many avenues and rediscover what they are doing. And whereby there are some errors and mistakes, they are able to redo the things again.
We now at Juta Education Publishers to speak to Margaret Ramokgopa, who's a consultant and an educational trainer. What is the do, talk and record method of learning?
Do, it's by touching through physical manipulatives. And the talk, it's communicating with you, explaining their understanding. That when you say talk, you ask questions like, why do you say this? Whether the answer is right or whether the answer is wrong. And by mere answering that and explaining your thinking, then you know where the learner is in terms of understanding the concept. And recording is reflecting, writing down on what they have learned. And when you talk about reflecting, you're also doing checking whether you understood. So you're writing down your understanding by reflecting.
What is it that you are designing and making now? Tandega,
We
yes.
are going to make a toy boat.
We are making a toy boat. Ne?
Could you tell me more about the importance of group work?
The importance of the group work is that each and every learner is given a task within the group itself. Who's the group leader? It's still you. Ubani odrowayo umtiti? Who's going to write? Who's going to report? Umfundo namhlanje uzoreport. Obhalayo. Thanks. Okay. Nikhumbule ukuthi fanele kube ne-scribe ne-reporter ne illustrator ngisho ne.
You know, in each and every lesson, we build on the existing knowledge. So I have to go around the groups, teaching them of some new skills. So in each and every lesson, something new is being learned.
We call this a propeller. We call this what? A propeller.
Scaffolding is a metaphor that is used to help teachers and educational researchers understand the process of teaching, how we can teach best in order to assist people's learning. It's taken from the scaffold in the construction of buildings, where in order to build, the higher you go, you need something to support the structure. So learning needs to be progressive. You need to support what they are learning progressively. So the concept of scaffolding illustrates that once pupils have mastered a concept or ideas, the teacher needs not continue to reiterate it, to continue to teach what her learners have already learned. The teacher should proceed from what her learners have mastered already to give them support in more graded levels of knowledge. The concept of the zone of proximal development enables us to locate the level of understanding of our learners by giving them tasks or assessing them on what they already know, what they can do already, and then introduce the new knowledge that we want to teach them at a level where they can understand or they can perform competently with our assistance as teachers, so that in the future they could be able to perform competently on their own. That is the critical level where our pupils' understanding is only possible when there is someone who is more competent to assist them. It could be us as teachers, or it could be one of their peers. Those learners who may be ahead of others could also be used.
Now the learners have just finished their product. What they are going to do, they are just going to evaluate their product themselves as to do their boats able to float or sink in the water. Each and every group leader will be doing that. Come, Ketiwe, and we'll be doing that.
The boat is moving in the water, and we make it to be strong and to have a strength to move in the water.
Why is it important for learners to evaluate what they've done?
In evaluating what they've done, they evaluated the project themselves. So it is important for them to take the ownership of their judgment and to improve on what they have discovered, whether it was wrong or right.
Was your boat able to sink or float?
The boat is floating.
They learn to share the ideas and to take note of them because they are sharing. And when they communicate, and by writing, it's not easy for them to forget.
Okay. Can you explain now, Nonkululeka, about everything that you have done here?
The material that we used to build this boat, we used the bottle, the cold drink bottle, the cloth, the foil, and papers to draw animals and a person.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you have done. Can you just give a clap for the job that you have done today? Thank you.
Thank you.
The practices of teaching has changed very much, and they do not need to stick to the old chalk and talk approach to teaching. They need to look at how they could liberate their own learners by allowing them to create their own learning in the classroom. And in order for them to do that, they need to allow their learners to have the freedom to work with the learning materials and all the resources that are available to them in order to create their learning. And they need to believe that their learners are capable of learning and that their role is to assist that learning that their learners are going through, and not to think that they could impose knowledge on their learners, and that or that they could give out concepts and facts, whether it is in science, in the humanities, in arts, as they are, and expect their learners to take them, or rather to absorb them like a sponge, because that learning will not be helpful to their learners in the long term. The teacher should provide differentiated support to her learners, should support her learners both as a collective and as individuals, and that is how the teacher could bring about effective learning. And the kind of learning that this would produce would be lifelong learning, because the learning that would occur, whether it is in the foundation phase, would last forever in the life of these learners, and it would help them in their future.